I never believed in ghosts. Not really. But that night on Balete Drive in Quezon City, Philippines, changed everything. I was a junior reporter for a local news site, always chasing urban legends to fill the mysteries column. My boss thought it was a joke, a way to get clicks, but I took my stories seriously. When I heard about the White Lady of Balete Drive, I knew I had to experience it for myself. Balete Drive, nestled in the heart of Quezon City, was infamous for ghost sightings. The locals spoke of a spectral woman in a white dress, her long black hair hiding her face, appearing suddenly in the back seat of unsuspecting drivers' cars. Some said she was the spirit of a woman who had met a tragic end on this very road. Others believed she was the restless soul of someone who had perished beneath the ancient Balete trees lining the street. Determined to separate fact from folklore, I borrowed my friend's old sedan and set out around midnight. The street was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustling of leaves in the warm evening breeze. My headlights sliced through the darkness, casting twisted shadows on the gnarled roots that sprawled onto the pavement. The Balete trees stood like silent sentinels, their vines draping over the road like grasping fingers. I drove slowly, my eyes flicking between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. My heart pounded in my chest, a strange unease creeping up my spine. It was just another story, I told myself. Another legend waiting to be debunked. Then, my radio crackled. A burst of static filled the car, followed by a faint whisper. I turned the volume down, but the whispering grew louder, almost like a woman crying. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I glanced at the mirror again, and my blood turned to ice. There, in the back seat, was a woman. She wore a flowing white dress, the fabric slightly tattered, as though time had worn it away. Her long black hair cascaded over her face, obscuring her features. Her hands rested on her lap, pale and motionless. A soft, mournful sob filled the air, echoing inside the small space of the car. It was a sound so heart-wrenching, so filled with sorrow that it made my chest tighten. It was the kind of cry that spoke of endless grief, of a soul trapped in torment. I slammed on the brakes. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. My breath came in ragged gasps as I turned, my hands shaking to look at the back seat directly. Empty. The seat was bare, no sign of anyone. I swallowed hard. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. With trembling fingers, I shifted the car back into gear and continued down the road. The moment the wheels started rolling, the whispering returned, this time accompanied by something else. A faint, wet sob. I felt a chill snake down my spine. The air inside the car grew cold, unnaturally so, like a sudden drop in temperature in an enclosed room. My breath came out in visible puffs. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of there, but my curiosity was stronger. I glanced in the rearview mirror again. She was back. This time she was closer. Her head was tilted slightly, as though she were watching me. The strands of hair shifted with the motion, revealing part of her face, just enough for me to see the curve of her cheek, the sharp angle of her jaw. A deep, sorrowful wail echoed through the car, a lament so agonizing that it sent shivers through my bones. I blinked, and she was gone. A whisper brushed against my ear.
Tulungan mo ako.
Help me. My pulse spiked. I twisted the wheel, nearly swerving into the sidewalk. My instincts kicked in, overriding every ounce of journalistic curiosity. I stomped on the gas pedal, the engine roaring as the car surged forward. The faster I drove, the louder the sobs became, echoing through the car, pressing into my skull. The sound of her crying filled the air, growing desperate, pleading. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was in front of me. a towering figure, standing in the middle of the road, her arms outstretched. Her face was no longer hidden. Her eyes were hollow, dark voids filled with endless sorrow. Her mouth quivered as she wept, her expression twisted in grief. Her entire form shimmered like mist, ethereal and weightless, as if she existed between worlds, and she was weeping. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the sorrow that poured from her trembling lips. Her cries grew louder, filled with anguish and despair, echoing through the night like a haunting melody. I couldn't stop. I drove straight through her. For a brief second, the car was filled with a freezing cold, and then she was gone. The sobbing ceased. The whispers faded. The air returned to its normal warmth. I didn't stop until I reached the nearest petrol station, my body shaking, my breath erratic. When I finally dared to look in the mirror again, I was alone. I never drove down Balit Drive again after that night. But sometimes when I close my eyes, I still hear her. The whispers, the cries, the desperate plea for help from a spirit long forgotten, forever trapped in the shadows of Balit Drive. But the worst part? Last night, as I was getting ready for bed, I caught a glimpse of my mirror. Behind me in the reflection stood a woman in white. And she was smiling. So this is the tale of the weeping lady of Quezon City, Balit Drive's most notorious ghost. A story that has haunted the streets of this city for generations, whispering through the night like the mournful cries of a lost soul. But be warned, some legends are not just stories, they are warnings. Warnings of a spirit that may still wander the roads, waiting for the next traveler to pass by. And remember, if you ever find yourself driving down Balit Drive late at night, keep your eyes on the road and never ever look into your rearview mirror.